We are going to get you ready for the NFL playoffs. And yeah, of course, talk a little fantasy. Who is next year's Aaron Rodgers? Who is next year's Stefon Diggs? Who is next year's Keenan Allen? We'll answer those questions for you right now on Fantasy Football Today. It's Adam, Dave, and Jamey. And you'll hear a little bit from Ben later. And this episode is sponsored by Express. Express is all new and it's all about you. And it's awesome with a fresh assortment of casual, versatile, and super comfortable styles. Find out more about Express later on in the show. All right, Jamey, 6 playoff games this week. How you feeling about that? You like the expanded postseason field?
Love it. Very exciting. Very much looking forward to all of these games. They have a lot of intrigue in a variety of ways. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great to see who pulls off the upset, who's this year's Titans, who can make a run. So yeah, looking forward to how this all will unfold.
Dave, who is this year's Titans? Who can make a run?
Could be the Titans, at least in the first round, going up against Baltimore. It's a team that they beat earlier this year and handled well last year. I actually haven't picked that game yet. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I'm not sure if there's really another team out there that would be like a shocker. The Ravens could the winner of that game be the Cinderella? Maybe, probably.
Right. That game, like the 5 seed is Baltimore, the 4 seed's Tennessee, and then in the other conference, the 5 seed is Tampa Bay. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised if they make a run even as the 5 seed. Colts is the 7.
I think Buffalo whips them.
I don't know, man. You can run on Buffalo.
I mean, that's why they're a surprise team. So anybody that's going to, pull a shocker is the one that you are not going to be expecting it. Nobody expected the Titans to go to the AFC Championship game last year. So the Colts could easily be that team for sure. The Browns too. I mean, the teams that have the formula for success are the ones that, you look at. If you could run the ball in the playoffs, that's usually the formula for success.
Yeah, the Browns, Dave. You think they can beat the Steelers on the road?
I think they could beat the Steelers. I'm not saying they will. That's another game I haven't picked yet, but I think it's possible. I think there's a slight chance that the Bears can handle the Saints. Now, I'd be surprised if they won, but I think there's a chance. I would give them a chance. I think they've got a better chance to win this week than they did last week against the Packers.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, especially if Kamara doesn't play, and we don't know. We will tell you all the news and notes, get you caught up on that. We had a couple mock drafts this week, full PPR, half PPR, and you're going to talk about them next week. I'm not going to be on the show next week. I'll tell you more about our programming notes in a bit, but I just wanted to I was like, all right, let's just get one talking point from the mock draft. So, Jamey, you took in the second round, it was in our full PPR, 3-receiver league, full PPR. You took James Robinson, 15th overall in the second round. You took him ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Aaron Jones, a lot of really good wide receivers and, some good running backs as well. You took James Robinson there. Again, 3 receivers, full PPR. So yeah, I'll let you guys, I'm not going to steal your content for next week when you're going to talk about these mock drafts, but I think you may have taken James Robinson in our other draft yesterday too. Is that right?
I did the same 2 picks, back-to-back, back-to-back drafts, back-to-back days.
What was the first one?
Austin Eckler, James Robinson.
Austin Eckler, James. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting strategy in a 3-receiver league to take 2 running backs and to pass up, at least in this one, DeAndre Hopkins, for James Robinson.
Yeah, I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that we'll be talking about this next week. So I think this is the time you experiment with how you want to build your team. So picking 10th, I was expecting to get quality wide receivers starting the 3rd round, and I actually passed on a receiver in the 3rd round. I took J.K. Dobbins, so I started with 3 running backs in a row because I thought the value for Dobbins was too good. So Kenny Galladay was my number 1 receiver in round 4. And, if he's healthy and right, we were taking Kenny Galladay in round 2 this year. So,
but not even looking ahead, that was a great pick. But just tell me about Robinson over Hopkins. Are you doing that right now? You just figured the wide receivers would be really good later in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see that. My 2 receivers to start after going 3 running backs in a row. So even taking it a step further, were Kenny Galladay and Brandon Ayuk. I'm thrilled with that. Absolutely thrilled with that, with getting those 3 running backs to start my team.
I'm not thrilled. I wouldn't be thrilled with that. Just to be.
Well, I mean, that's why you lose and I win.
Yeah, I guess so. But look, you have Ayuk, who has not done it with Kittle and Debo on the field, right?
And Kittle has not done it with Ayuk on the field.
Sure, absolutely. But yeah, we're not talking about Kittle, but sure. We haven't seen that scenario.
It's speculating. It's obviously speculating.
It's full PPR, so Galladay in the 4th round is a great pick anyway, but he's, not a high catch guy. No, I'm just the strategy of taking 3 running backs with your first 3 picks in a 3 receiver PPR league is very risky, especially when one of them, J.K. Dobbins, might have 15 catches next year.
Sure. But again, as we talked about earlier this week, I think for me, Dobbins is right behind in a very, in a lesser degree, but in the same caliber of player like a Derrick Henry and like a Nick Chubb. I don't think he's going to get to those heights yet, but a running back that will be very productive in PPR despite not catching the ball because of what he will do on the ground and because of what he will do at the goal line. So to get him in the 3rd round to be my flex, I was very comfortable with the receiving core that I built, which we'll talk about next week. But I have no problem starting with Eckler, who is PPR monster, and James Robinson, which I think proved himself to be a top 12 caliber running back last year, with the addition of Trevor Lawrence will hopefully be good to take him in the 2nd round.
Actually, that was really the basis for the question, was the confidence in James Robinson over, I guess, a safer pick like Hopkins. No, it devolved into something else. But okay, Dave, what would you have done there? If you already had a running back in the 1st round and a 3 receiver PPR league, are you going running back in round 2?
I might, and it's because I know that there's going to be good wide receiver depth, and I think people will see that when they see rounds 3, 4, and 5 in our mocks next week. They're going to say, "Whoa, this is some good talent." These are some of these guys, like you said, Galladay we took in round 4 and in our mocks, and he was going earlier than that last year. And these are mock drafts without rookies. It's before free agency. It's before trades are going down. So I think there's going to be some pretty good depth across the board in fantasy. It's going to be there in quarterback. It's going to be there wide receiver, but running back, it's going to be a little top heavier than it was before, which is a good thing. And in our half PPR draft, I started with 3 running backs. Dobbins was one of them. And I can't wait to see how the team shakes out because it's going to be good. You do not have to, I believe you don't have to go crazy on receivers early in drafts in 2021.
And I will say, Adam, because you mentioned Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones is back with the Packers, I would have taken him over James Robinson.
Okay. All right, then. So that's a sneak peek at the mock draft that we did, and it will be talked about in more detail next week. And next week, we will have our awards show on the 12th. What is that, Tuesday? What's today? Yes, on Tuesday, the 12th. So stay tuned for that. And you can vote right now. We gave you the nominees earlier this week. They're all available to vote for on our Facebook page. Just search for Fantasy Football Today on Facebook or check the link in the episode description. We got a new podcast to tell you about. It's called The Early Edge. If you're looking for a leg up on your bookmaker, we've got you covered on the Early Edge podcast, powered by Sportsline. Every day, up to 10 minutes or shorter here, you get great gambling advice. If there's a sharp side, you'll be armed with it. So go check it out, the Early Edge podcast, wherever you listen to FFT. And just a couple of programming notes. I'm going to be out on paternity leave for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Jamey and Dave are going to be hosting for you. Chris Towers will be on. Heath will be back. I don't know if he's coming back like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but Heath's out for most of January. So you got a lot of old school Dave, Jamey, Fantasy Football Today, Fantasy Football Playbook. Are we going to get the old name back, Dave?
Maybe. We get the old music back.
Oh boy, I don't even know what it is, but no, we can't. I don't have that. So leave me alone for the next 2-3 weeks. And Jamey, I didn't watch any Cobra Kai. Sorry about that.
Either.
Oh, okay. There was something on TV. The news was kind of gripping yesterday, so I didn't get any Cobra Kai in. And we're going to have an extra episode for you tomorrow of Fantasy Football Today in 5. I got Jacob Gibbs coming on to give us some stats for the weekend, for DFS, for props. I'm going to throw it in the FFT in 5 feed, obviously. I'm going to throw it in this feed as well. News and notes. Okay. Jamey, Dave chimed in on this yesterday on FFT in 5. Let me get your thoughts. Miami offensive coordinator Chan Gailey resigned. This was a real report, not like the one a couple of days ago. So they will have a new offensive coordinator next year. And what are your thoughts?
Good. Get some fresh ideas in there. I don't think it's, on Gailey that the way the Dolphins offense performed because there's so many injuries throughout the course of the season. Gaskin missing 5 games. Savon Ahmed missing time after he became a thing. Preston Williams missing the majority of the season. Devontae Parker missing time. Mike Gesicki missing time. So I don't think we get a full idea of who Tua Tagovailoa is as an NFL quarterback, and I don't know if Chan Gailey is the right person to make the most out of him. So hopefully they can bring in somebody that has the foresight to maybe do some more creative things, because I do think there's some interesting players on this offense. But Gailey was great once upon a time, but I think his time has passed.
All right, Trevor Lawrence declared for the NFL draft. No surprise. Alvin Kamara won't be able to play this week, Dave. So even if he
won't be able to play this week?
Sorry, he won't be able to practice this week.
I almost had a heart attack.
Practice. He will be able to play. Technically, it depends if he clears all the protocols. Sunday would be the first day he's eligible to come off the reserve COVID list. But are you worried about his workload, even if he does play? And in DFS, you got to pay up for Kamara. Is it worth it?
It's another layer to consider with Kamara if you're going to pony up. I think it was 8,500 on DraftKings. His prices this week. It's too much. It's too much against the Bears defense, knowing that he's not going to practice all week. I don't think running backs necessarily have to practice like a quarterback or, like defensive players every single week to prepare for the opponent. They basically are asked to do the same thing most weeks. Kamara is no exception to that. But I'd be worried about him getting his usual playing time unless he just starts off red hot, which is always possible with him. But to get 25 plus PPR points, I think it's a little too much to expect given the circumstances.
Okay, and Bears' run defense has been pretty good lately when they've had Akeem Hicks. However, the other New Orleans running backs are off the reserve COVID list, so if Kamara is out, I'm sure a lot of people will look at Latavius Murray. And good news for Saints running backs, bad news for the Bears run defense. Roquan Smith, linebacker Roquan Smith likely out this week. They should get back their rookie cornerback, Jalen Johnson. And based on where Michael Thomas often lines up and how the Bears don't really move their cornerbacks, I feel like it could be Jalen Johnson coming off of a 3-week absence up against Michael Thomas, who reportedly is going to be close to full health. And is he kind of an automatic in your lineups this week? Michael Thomas?
Kinda.
Yeah, for sure. It's an unbelievable price tag for him. You're never going to see him this cheap. Hopefully ever again, because that means he's playing great. But yeah, he's I'm doing a story for the site for Friday of good buys and bad buys for both sites and for DraftKings and FanDuel. And he's the second wide receiver on that, or I'm sorry, he's the first wide receiver that I listed on DraftKings and the second wide receiver on FanDuel.
He's like 6,400 on DraftKings.
He's 6,400 on DraftKings. He is 6,800 on FanDuel.
Ooh.
I got to know who's the better bargain on FanDuel.
I didn't do it by I did it by price in terms of I eliminated all the obvious plays. And so just him and Deontay Johnson are flipped in terms of the top guy in terms of price. So Deontay Johnson's at 7,000. I think it's a good buy on FanDuel as well. But on DraftKings, he's the most expensive of the lesser tier guys.
Yeah, both of those receivers were in my lineup. I wonder if they'll just be too popular.
The problem with only 6 games is everybody's going to be using some combination of everybody.
Right. You got to find like 1, maybe 2 cheap guys.
Yeah, you got to find the out of nowhere guy.
Any candidates?
Well, I think Latavius Murray qualifies if Kamara plays, because he's going to be very obvious if Kamara doesn't play. But, as you're alluding to in terms of workload, if he's not going to get his workload and people say, oh, I'm not going to play Latavius Murray because Kamara's there, that's one that stands out of the non-quarterbacks. I think one that's intriguing to me, if he's healthy, is Isaiah McKenzie, because they played him in the slot in week 17. And if Cole Beasley doesn't play with John Brown back, you saw what he did. He had 9 targets and 6 catches. So that's an interesting one. Cole Kmet is actually more expensive on FanDuel than Jimmy Graham. But I would still play Cole Kmet because I think he's going to see more targets, especially with them chasing points. And then if Darnell Mooney's out, then Anthony Miller becomes interesting because Mooney's banged up after getting hurt in week 17. He was just a PPR stud.
Mooney would be very popular if he plays too, because he's under 4,000 on DraftKings and he's had this much bigger role lately in the Bears offense.
Yep.
Yeah. I think McKissick's interesting too. Figure they're going to be trailing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually a very good recipe for JD McKissick. Better in DraftKings full PPR than FanDuel half PPR. obviously. More news and notes for you. Let's take a look at the Rams. Cooper Kupp is going to play. Jared Goff was limited in practice. Hopefully he gets out there. Cam Akers practiced in full and kind of went unnoticed, but people weren't really paying attention in week 17. He had a horrible game, but he had 23 carries. So Cam Akers
21 carries for 34 yards.
Yeah, that's fine. But he's getting huge workloads. And hopefully he practiced in full, so that's a good sign. Maybe he's a little healthier here. Good chance to score, I'd say, against the Seahawks. All right, left tackle Andrew Whitworth also could play this week for the Rams. Washington
That'll help their run game.
Yeah, Washington could rotate their
Big time.
quarterbacks. Tampa Bay cornerback Carlton Davis was limited in practice. Indianapolis cornerback Rock Yassin may not play. And Stefon Diggs and Cole Beasley missed practice, with Beasley being a much bigger concern. There's been an email I've been wanting to read for a few days, and I keep forgetting. So here we go. This is from Patrick. It's our email of the day. Wondering if you could make a quick mention of my home league's donation to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital on an upcoming podcast. Our commissioner's father passed away on November 30th, and we quickly decided as a league to donate all league fees to St. Jude in his memory. Taking advantage of our employer's matching contribution programs, we were able to eclipse $10,000 for the charity. In fitting fashion, the commissioner's team went on to win the championship, which is his second since starting the league in 2008. Our commissioner, along with others in the league, are listeners of the show. It would be great to hear you guys give the Bayville Bowl props for supporting each other. A great charity.
That's awesome.
That is terrific. $10,000. Thank you so much to your employer as well for matching. Sorry about your loss. And what a great way to honor your father with a terrific donation. Thank you. All right, so this is a fun episode we did last year. We kind of looked at some 2019 standouts, and we said, who is the next blank? So I'll start with Keenan Allen. We were down on Keenan Allen. We thought Tyrod Taylor would be throwing past Keenan Allen for most of the year. But who is 2021's Keenan Allen? Dave, you want to go first here?
What are we saying? A receiver with a muddled quarterback situation who ends up being great in PPR, just great overall? Is that kind of what we're going with?
I don't know. It could be whatever. Look, it could be like mid-round receiver that is great, not a young guy who breaks out, but someone that we're kind of almost giving up on. And we were like, oh, actually, he's still amazing. Or, it could be a quarterback thing, like you said. Interpret it as you will. I would not pick like a second-year breakout, but rather a veteran who could bounce back one way or the other.
I'd like to know where Juju Smith-Schuster is playing in 2021. If it's Pittsburgh, I think I don't know if there's a great chance of him bouncing back to the levels that we saw before. But if he goes to another team where he's going to be the number one target and they've got a question mark at quarterback, he could absolutely be the Keenan Allen of 2021.
Jamey?
Odell Beckham came to mind for this, just based on where he's going to get drafted. He's going to go much further than Keenan Allen was drafted, but I do think there's a chance for him. The other one that seems to be a little bit more of an obvious tie-in because of a new quarterback coming in is DJ Chark, who I had high expectations for this year. He didn't live up to it by any stretch. Injury played a factor, but obviously quarterback as well. But getting Trevor Lawrence, it's the same tie-in. It's a rookie quarterback coming in and hopefully boosting up the value of a not a same level veteran, but a veteran receiver entering his fourth season. So hopefully DJ Chark can have that type of boost with Trevor Lawrence there.
I went with Cooper Kupp, and I was just looking at our draft results from the other day. Cooper Kupp, I think it was like around 5 or 6 pick. He had 5 targets, I want to say, inside the 10-yard line, which is not a lot. He had like double that last year, but he led the team. And the weird thing is, Jared Goff was 9th in the NFL in pass attempts, 23rd in red zone pass attempts. He just didn't throw a lot of touchdowns. He didn't throw near the end zone much. But if that changes, you could get another 8 to 10 touchdown season from Kupp, over 1,000 yards, caught a lot of balls this year. So, yeah, those are good options.
Does that matter to you if Robert Woods is gone?
Oh, well, it would be a big help if Robert Woods was gone.
I think it would help in one regard, but I think it would hurt also because he's not a number one. Woods is more of a number one receiver. Kupp is not a number one receiver.
Did they sign? I thought they signed him to an extension.
Robert Woods?
Yeah. Am I crazy? 4 years, $65 million.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere unless they cut him. And if they cut him, they're taking a dead money hit of 15 million.
They signed him to an extension in September.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I thought they might cut him when they drafted Van Jefferson, that this could be his last year, but they gave him the extension. So, all right. So that's next year's Keenan Allen, potentially. How about next year's Aaron Rodgers, veteran quarterback? We're counting him out. Comes back, has a huge year. Who's it going to be, Jamey?
I mean, there are two that I think are obvious in Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan, just based on what their histories are and what their potential could still be. I mean, Ryan was still a top 12 quarterback this year, so he doesn't have very far to go. Stafford, the last 2 years in terms of his total production hasn't been good, but we know in 2019 he was a top 3 quarterback in terms of points per game. So, play callers for those two guys, as we talked about earlier this week, what the receiving core looks like for those guys, more importantly in terms of Stafford with who could be gone. But I think both of those guys can, not to the same level. They're not going to be MVP caliber players in the NFL, but they can certainly be MVP caliber players for your fantasy team, drafting them late and then performing at the level that they have before in the past.
I think if they fall into the perfect situation, they could be MVP candidates in the NFL, though. Stafford gets traded. He's got a good offensive line, savvy play caller, good receiver. Say he goes to San Francisco,
No way.
for example.
He's just not even close to as good as Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, there's no way either of those guys.
Well, but
are
what
winning
were
the
we
NFL
saying about
MVP.
Aaron Rodgers last year?
But
We thought Aaron Rodgers was done, and then the draft happens, and they just reinforced.
Dave, I'll bet you $1,000 right now that Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan don't win the MVP next year. I'll give you both. I'll give you both of those guys
for free. Oh, great!
No, you give me $1,000 if they don't get it.
Well, you gotta give him some odds.
I need odds on this. I said if it's the perfect situation for both of them.
You get
what
the
I'm saying is
what guys will make a bet.
Here's what I'm saying. I think that they could still potentially have banger seasons. I think they still are talented quarterbacks. They just need to be in the right spot where they go. And that's why you like them as late round breakout guys. Ryan was the first name I came up with. But do I want to put $100 on one of those two being the league MVP at 10-1, for example? Nah.
Oh, you need better than 10
not yet anyway. Let's see what happens.
50-1.
Yeah.
I went with Breeze. I mean, I think a lot of people are assuming he retires, but if he retires, I probably wouldn't say Breeze. But if he doesn't retire, this guy was one of the only quarterbacks who was better than Matthew Stafford on a per game basis in 2019, and he played almost all of 2020 without Michael Thomas. So, and I thought he played pretty well. I still think he could be extremely accurate and use Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara as short yardage, short area guys who turn it into something. He could be Drew Brees. He's still a very good quarterback. So
I don't think Carson Wentz can be a league MVP, but could he be okay for fantasy if he ends up in the right place? If he goes to a spot where he's well protected and he's got good receivers and he's running an offense he's familiar with, couldn't he bounce back some?
I absolutely think so.
I don't think he could be a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
All right, so let's say pick a destination for Carson Wentz. Wentz makes sense. Where?
Indianapolis is the one that we've been linking him to already. And if they've got their offensive line straightened out,
let's put him there.
I'd feel pretty good about that. Maybe they replace Jack Doyle with Zach Ertz.
Let's put him there. Okay. That sounds good. Wentz, Breeze, Ryan, Stafford. Who's your favorite if Wentz is in Indianapolis?
Where's Stafford?
They're all back in their other spot. Like they're all staying in Detroit, Atlanta, and New Orleans.
Ryan, Stafford,
would be my
Wentz,
favorite.
Breeze is in the broadcast booth.
No, he's back with New Orleans.
Okay.
Wentz and Stafford, or no, not Wentz. I'm sorry, Ryan and Stafford. And I think I'd have to draft
Breeze, Ryan, Stafford, Wentz.
Wow, Breeze first.
Who do you want to see in the broadcast booth, Breeze or Witten?
I know who you would pick.
No, I think Breeze is going to be a great broadcaster.
I think he would be great, and if Phillip Rivers ever gets tired of playing football, he'd be great in there too. I think he'd actually talk trash while
right
on the air.
Damn it! What are they flipping doing?
Was that Strager?
That was Phil Rivers.
Oh, that's Phil Rivers. Okay. All right. Who is 2021's Devontae Parker / Corey Davis?
That's a tough call. Those guys. I mean, I can't get the contract situation.
Is that
in my
where
head, so I'm
Chark
trying to
would
think
come
of
into
that.
play? That's where I would put DJ Chark, for example. Like a guy that we're leaving behind. But
yeah, but I mean, these guys were
nobody's leaving DJ Chark behind. I mean,
but no one's hoisting him up there. Like there were people
these
last
guys
year that
are
were
undrafted.
The dynasty community is extremely excited about the Jaguars.
They should be.
Absolutely
Totally get that, but
yeah, nobody's giving up on DJ Chark. I
don't know. There's some people in seasonal that might. They'll take another look at him once Lawrence is officially there.
It could be like that. It could be the two Giants guys, Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard.
Okay.
I don't know if they get to those levels of what Parker was in 2019 or what Davis was this year, but there's still a lot to like about those two guys.
A couple of names I came up with, just like previously hyped guys. I don't know if anybody. Do you think anybody's drafting? Yeah, they probably are. When did Nelson Aguilar get drafted?
This year?
In the NFL?
No, in the draft that we did 2 days ago.
Oh, probably somewhere in the round 8 range. I don't think they went in the half PPR yet. I don't think he went in the half PPR yet.
Okay. Christian Kirk
Beckham could qualify for this.
Aguilar went.
No, because Beckham's been amazing. These guys had pretty much lousy careers.
They did nothing, and now they suddenly break out just in time for a new contract.
N'Keal Harry would be, if he had any faith in him.
Sure.
N'Keal Harry would qualify.
Yeah, I'll stick with Darius Slayton. I think he can do it.
I'm looking at my free agent list. Guys at wide receiver who are gonna. Well, actually, these aren't guys. These are these are free agents now, not free agents to be. Yeah, I don't know if I've got a good one. Do you think AJ Green's got anything left in the tank? He's not the same type at all.
Yeah, but he's leaving his team. I think Adam's looking at guys that are staying with their team.
Who's staying with their team?
Michael Gallup's still with the Cowboys. That's an interesting one too.
That might be a good one, and I believe he's in a contract here next year.
Christian Kirk was a round 12 pick in the draft we just did. 3 receiver PPR league.
Another good one.
Let's see.
That could work too. Yeah, so I think the only one, like both Aguilar and Parker were first round draft picks. I'm sorry. Both Corey Davis and Parker were first round draft picks, and so was Aguilar. That's why I came up with him. But Aguilar may have just had his year, N'Keal Harry was a first round draft pick and has been awful so far, but hasn't really been in the best situation.
How about Mike Williams is that guy?
He's
a free agent in 2022.
That's one. That's a good call.
Gallup is going to be one. For what's worth, Chark is going to be a free agent in 2022 as well.
Okay, let's go to who is 2021's Lamar Jackson. I feel like there's a very obvious answer here.
As far as
a bust?
Yeah. But not like horrible bust, just like going to go way too early.
Josh Allen?
You're thinking Kyler?
Kyler, yeah. Kyler, when he didn't rush for a touchdown, he really didn't do very well most of that. These were his fantasy points when he didn't rush for a touchdown. 28, that's great. 23, it's fine. 7, 21, 19, 14, 3. We won't count the 3. Left with the 3. Was that?
It was almost all in the second half.
Yeah, he stopped rushing for touchdowns. And
when he hurt his shoulder, the knock on him is the size. And, he got banged up and he stopped running.
Right. But even when he was running, I think the argument was like his touchdown pace is just way too high.
Sure. But it's nice when you've got it. And I don't know if it's necessarily going away. That's probably going to hinge on what they do at running back. And I would expect them to do something good at running back.
Who is safer? Lamar Jackson, or who is safer? Actually, why not throw Lamar Jackson there? Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, or Josh Allen? Who's the safest?
Allen to me.
I'm taking Allen first. I have Kyler ahead of Lamar Jackson as of now.
Okay. And finally, who is 2021's Stefon Diggs?
I love
Allen Robinson, yeah, free agent.
Yep. Oh, so a guy who changed teams, you're saying?
I think so, yeah. Unlock some potential here.
I hope Allen Robinson says, money is great, but can I finally play with a new quarterback? A good quarterback.
A good quarterback. Yeah, he might be the gem of the free agent class. Juju would be 2. Godwin is a free agent. Galladay is a free agent.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see where all 4 of those guys go. Will Fuller is going to go out there. He's going to miss a game. At least one, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Will Fuller's leaving, though.
I hope he doesn't leave.
How could they let Galladay leave? I mean, that just feels like a franchise tag.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk about franchising him, but
all these guys might get franchised.
You got to see who the coach is. You got to see what the money is going to be. There's a lot still at play here.
Yeah. I mean, it would be weird to let a talented wide receiver after his fourth year just leave. Like that, you drafted him, you should keep him. But yeah, I mean, Juju does he seem more likely to change teams?
The sentiment before the season started was that this was going to be it for him in Pittsburgh. And then you see Roethlisberger kind of favor Deontay Johnson.
Spot.
I don't know. Did he do enough this year to warrant a huge contract from the Steelers?
In their eyes, probably yes, because, all you heard was he did all the dirty work. He was the one that sacrificed going downfield. He played, over the middle, took all those big hits. So I'm sure they value him as a teammate and as a locker room guy, aside from the dancing on the logo crap. But, that seems to be rectified. But, at this point, if you're Juju, you got to look at the writing on the wall that there are other guys at your position that are very talented in Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, and your quarterback is eroding before your eyes. So do you want to stay in Pittsburgh and take probably a hometown discount, or you want to go see if you get a mega deal somewhere else?
All right. Well, that's it for this. Who is next year's or who is 2020, whatever. It's a working title. And when we're going to look at the games and give you some DFS advice here, although we already gave you some, but we'll kind of go game by game and talk about who we like and who we don't like. But one thing we definitely do like is Express. Okay. And Express is all new and all about you. Check out Express for all the comfy, casual, and versatile styles for men. Either go to the store or go to express.com right now. There are always great deals, always great bargains, really affordable clothing that's also going to work with what you already own. Okay. That's something that's really important. You have a nice pair of jeans. You want to put a sweater on it. Express has got that. You need a nice pair of jeans. Of course, Express has that, but you can throw on Express clothes with the stuff that you already have because the Express clothes are just so versatile. It's 2021. Okay. It's a new year. Let's turn a new leaf. Let's start with a fresh look. The styles that you see on Express, you will not find them in other places. It's very unique stuff, and it's really, really awesome stuff as well. So when I put on my clothes, when I put on the jacket, for example, that I bought from Express, or the sweaters that I bought from Express, I'm excited. I feel good about it. I'm confident. I feel good to go outside. I want to be seen. Everybody, look at me. Look at my clothes. I look awesome. Yeah. So like I said, they've got something for everyone. They got women's clothes. They've got jeans for men. They've got, so much stuff. Jeans, nicer pants, T-shirts. You might want to get a head start and get some T-shirts now before the weather turns warm and before you actually need them. Accessories, socks. Socks are great. I'm wearing the dress socks all the time. I'm wearing the dress socks right now to keep my feet warm. No. But it would require a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, come on.
But yeah, we love our Express items, and the quality jeans are also extremely nice. Very premium quality jeans on Express. So I was a little surprised at how much I like the jeans there. Just terrific, and I highly recommend them. So it's a great time to go shopping for yourself. Go on express.com or get into the store. It's all new and it's all about you. Start the new year right with an all-new look. Shop Express in stores and online at express.com now. Indianapolis is at Buffalo. Let's go through the games really quickly here. Who do you like from a DFS standpoint on the Colts, Dave?
I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be popular, and he makes sense. That Buffalo is still kind of having some issues with running their run defense, I should say. 5 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry to a running back over their last 3 games, and Taylor's getting fed. So he would be the first name on Indianapolis that I would look at. And he might be the only one that I'd really feel good about. There's a chance that Phillip Rivers could have 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns, but there's also a chance that he could have fall on his face type of a game, 1 touchdown. We've seen Buffalo hold quarterbacks to 19 or fewer fantasy points in 4 of their past 5 games, or in each of their past 4 games, in 5 of their past 6 games. And I think that the Colts can put up some points, but I think Taylor's going to be the big reason why. Maybe if they really try and lean on their ground game, Hines gets involved. Maybe he's a decent sleeper, but I'm not sure if his price makes him worth taking a chance on.
Nyheim Hines is one of my favorite plays this week by far on any site because they're most likely chasing points, and I think he's going to have a huge game catching the ball.
He's 4,700 on DraftKings. How much is he on FanDuel?
It's 5,600, and he's 200 more than J.D. McKissick. So obviously they're similar players.
And he's 200 less than McKissick on DraftKings.
He's 5,600 on FanDuel, but
I think he's a little risky. I get it, but
FanDuel.
I think that's a good contrarian play, or maybe contrarian isn't the right word. Not popular play, whereas Taylor is going to be super popular.
Taylor is going to be popular. Rivers, Hilton, any interest?
Rivers more so on FanDuel and DraftKings.
Okay, and then Josh Allen. How do we feel about Josh Allen? Big game, little game. Yeah, the thing about the Colts is they have a legitimately good run defense. I don't think you're going to be excited about the Bills running backs.
Correct.
Honestly, their pass defense, it's just not very good. It really hasn't been. Lately, they've been getting torched by the good quarterbacks. Allen's torching everyone lately, so I don't think there's a reason to avoid him unless it's just too expensive. But what do you guys think?
No, he's a must play. I think, if you're looking for guaranteed production, he's at the top of the list, for guys this weekend, because he is playing at an MVP level. If MVP voting were extended another week, he may have be co-MVPs with Aaron Rodgers, because he's got similar numbers to Rodgers and they both have 13 wins. So it's just been amazing. And, I said this on HQ over the weekend. They're the best team in the AFC right now, just the way that they're playing. I think they're going to lose to the Chiefs because the game is in Arrowhead. But in terms of just actual play, the way that their defense has turned the corner the last few weeks, getting healthy, and the way that Allen is playing right now, he's going to carve up the Colts.
Yeah, whether or not their defense is legit is really interesting. They haven't really faced a lot of great offenses lately. Their last 6 games, they're giving up like 18 points per game. That's great. They faced the Chargers, the Niners, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. But they've done really well. I mean, they really have. So they're a threat to the Chiefs for sure. This is going to take too long this way. So let's just I'll give you the game, and I want 30 seconds from each of you on the game, and then we can talk about it afterwards. But last question about this. Who's a better DFS play if they both play? Cole Beasley or John Brown?
John Brown, because Beasley won't be 100%.
I love the price of John Brown on DraftKings at 4,700.
He's in my FanDuel lineup at 5,700 as well. Okay, so our next game then, we'll go 30 seconds. Jamey, you get the first 30 seconds on this game. Rams at Seahawks. Anyone you like in this game?
Not really. Rams defense, especially on DraftKings, I don't understand the pricing. But otherwise, not much. The Seattle receivers, no. Carson, not so much. And certainly not Russell Wilson. And then for the Rams, I'm staying away from all of them, to be honest.
That's why I like the Seahawks defense, which is 200 cheaper than the Rams on DraftKings. And they've been playing really well. I think that their secondary has been playing great. The pass rush has been reborn. The linebackers have always been good all season long.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't even realize the Seahawks DST is the second least expensive on FanDuel. I just put them in my lineup, and now I just saved $500 from the...
Well, there you go.
From the Bills DST. And yeah, they have not given up a touchdown to a wide receiver in 8 straight games, including twice against the Rams. So that's
amazing.
Wild.
And I can't count on Goff to suddenly turn it on now when I like Akers, his throwing hand is messed up.
Like if you're going to tell me he's getting 20 carries, which he basically does every week, he's 6,100. Derrick Henry's
had a bunch of catches last week too.
10,200. Kamara's 9,000. Like the guys who are cheaper than Akers are Kareem Hunt, Gus Edwards, Naeem Hines, Zach Moss, Latavius Murray, J.D. McKissick.
Mm-hmm.
I like Akers.
He's probably the best cheap running back that you could put in your lineup. He's 5,100 on DraftKings. That's lower than Rojo, who's at 5,500. I'd rather have Akers. Gibson at 5,700. I'd rather have Akers. Carson at 5,900. I would absolutely rather have Akers.
Okay. All right, let's go to our next game then. No interest in Metcalf or Lockett?
No.
But I think that's where you go to be different. One of those two.
And who do you go with? Do you go with Lockett?
I think you lean Lockett because of Metcalf drawing Ramsey again.
All right, here's a really interesting one because right now Tom Brady's my quarterback on FanDuel. And I don't know how popular that's going to be because the Washington's defense has been great this year. The way I see it, though, they have faced such an easy schedule. Most of the good offenses they've faced have done pretty well. And Brady's on fire right now, but he's faced like the Lions and the Falcons lately.
Right.
And he hasn't been that
Just
good.
remember what time the game is, though, Adam.
It's a night game. That's true. It's going to be cold. He hasn't been that good against tough competition. So I don't know if it's contrarian or not. But all right, who do you like in this game? Jamey, you get the first 30 seconds after I just took the first 90 seconds. Sorry.
I love Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown with Mike Evans. Either not playing or banged up. So those guys have been on fire. They both have scored in each of the last 3 games. And so I think they have a chance to find the end zone, maybe both of them. And then I'd play Ronald Jones. I think, even though the Washington run defense is good, the price is right. He's going to get a lot of work. I think they're playing with the lead. So those would be my favorite plays for Tampa Bay.
Jones I'm sorry, Dave. Jones kind of similar to Cam Akers, right? Like tough matchup, but should get a lot of work. Probably not going to expect a ton in the passing games. Who do you like better? If they were priced the same, who do you like better?
Ronald Jones.
I'll take Akers.
Okay, what about Washington? I mean, I think it just feels like an easy avoid to me, but should we go?
I think the whole game might be an easy avoid.
Yeah, I love J.D. McKissic, though. I'd play him on DraftKings for sure.
All right. Yeah, it's just with the quarterback situation being what it is, they might rotate the guys. I don't know how much confidence you can have in McLaurin and Thomas. Baltimore at Tennessee. Tennessee.
Oh, that's one guy. Hold on. Logan Thomas is one guy who should be in lineups. I shouldn't say avoid the whole game. Tampa Bay's allowed a touchdown to a tight end in 3 of their past 4.
Yeah, but he's expensive. I would avoid him if he could.
Okay. So Baltimore at Tennessee. Very strange that Tennessee has actually done very well against rushing quarterbacks this year. Jackson had 13 carries for 51 yards. That's not very good for Lamar Jackson. How do we feel about Lamar Jackson? Dave, he's the most expensive on FanDuel. Is he the most expensive on DraftKings? And
yes,
give me your 30 seconds. Give me your 30 seconds on this game.
I think he can be very good, but I would rather go a little cheaper at quarterback. So file him the same way you would with the Seahawks receivers, as guys who can be good and might not necessarily be popular. I think the Titans do have a quasi recipe on how to handle this Ravens offense, since they've beaten them twice already this year. But one of the ways they beat them was just outscoring them. They tied a game and then ran away with it in overtime this year. I think Jackson can be fine. I would rather, like, Josh Allen's 300 cheaper on DraftKings. I'd rather start Allen.
Who else from the Ravens, if anyone, do you like?
Brown is someone who I think is decently priced, and we know that he's been playing well. So I think you could go with him. Dobbins is another one. All he does is score touchdowns and gives you 60 yards with it. He could end up having a nice game. The Titans defense isn't that great.
Oh, it's terrible.
Right. So you could certainly, maybe if the Ravens do change it up a little bit, it's lean on their run game a little bit more. And that sounds silly because that's what they do pretty much all year, but it's basically taking the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands and just letting him either hand off or let him keep the ball in his hands, I guess, and run for it. What I'm saying is they don't throw nearly as much, and they play that Ravens style of football, and Dobbins would benefit a lot from that. Gus Edwards would too. But with Gus, you need him to have like a long touchdown to come through, or 2 touchdowns in order to come through in DFS.
All right, Jamey, give me 30 seconds on the Titans.
I mean, Tannehill's always in play just based on, how his production has been. So his price is fine. I don't have a problem with Tannehill. Henry, obviously, if you want to spend the money on him, I'm sure the Ravens are going to sell out to stop him after what he's done to them in their last 2 meetings. But, every team does that. So if you want to spend the money on Henry, it's fine. And then A.J. Brown and Corey Davis both played well against Baltimore in their earlier meeting this season. So I think they're both certainly in play, as is Jonnu. So this game could be sneaky high scoring. If the Ravens defense is a little bit leaky, then I think the Titans offense will score. I love the Ravens. I think the Ravens guys are all going to smash in this game.
Ravens have scored 34 points in 4 of their past 5 wins, and Titans have scored 30-plus points in 6 of their past 7 games. So I agree. This could be a very high-scoring game.
This is their first. This is Lamar Jackson's first playoff win.
Might be.
The issue I have with Corey Davis is Ryan Tannehill is just not throwing the ball lately. 24 to 27 pass attempts in 4 straight games. Now maybe the Ravens will score so much that'll change things. But the Ravens' run defense hasn't really been quite as good lately. I mean, it's been good, but it hasn't been great. So I don't think they're going to stop Derrick Henry. And Corey Davis typically just doesn't do well when Tannehill doesn't throw that much. Tannehill's production's been good lately. He has 5 rushing touchdowns in his last 3 games. So Tannehill and Corey Davis,
Tannehill will be over 35 pass attempts this game.
All right. Well, if he is going to be over 35 pass attempts, then Corey Davis is going to do well. it's almost a lock.
And that's a good stack if he's going to get 35 pass attempts.
Okay. And I just realized I have 3 rookie running backs in my lineup. I have Dobbins, Taylor, and Akers. I think Taylor, is
I don't think
expensive.
that's such a bad thing.
No, I'm excited about it. I mean, I think they're all going to score at least once. Akers makes me the most nervous, but Dobbins could average 6 yards per carry against the Titans. They're so bad on defense. All right, next game. Next game is
Bears Saints.
Yeah, Bears Saints. Okay. Well, all right, Dave, 30 seconds on the Bears.
I think Montgomery is a must. Saints have allowed a rushing touchdown 4 straight games, and Montgomery just gets so much work and not as expensive as Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. Probably won't be as productive as Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara, but he could be close. And so he's my favorite Bear. If Mooney plays, I like Mooney, especially on DraftKings. Jamey already talked about the tight ends. I think that's fine. I don't think that Trubisky is a great play. I know that some people are going to get creative with their lineups because he's cheap, but I can't feel good about him. And I think that the Saints will do everything they can to try and contain Allen Robinson.
I do want to ask Jamey a follow-up on Montgomery because he's, in my opinion, the most interesting player on the slate. He had a tougher matchup, I guess, last week. I'll give the Packers run defense some credit, and he was 22 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown, but he did have 9 catches. But, the Saints give up the fewest fantasy points to running backs. They have not been as great lately. But is he a must, or is he, how do you feel about Montgomery?
I think he's going to be popular. I think you're going to look at it and say the game that he got last week is probably something that you can expect this week. Not a very good yards per carry, but a lot of work. A lot of work in the passing game. So that's what you like about Montgomery. So if you want to spend the money on him, he's not, like Dave said, in the same range as Taylor and Henry, but he's not cheap. And Kamara, he's not exactly a cheap contrarian type of option. So Montgomery's proven himself. I don't know what else there's to say. Take away the touchdown, and that's probably what you're getting from him, because I don't think he scores in this game.
I think he does, and if he's 6,900 on DraftKings. So if that's 21 PPR points on DraftKings, he's giving you at least 20.1 points each of the last 6 games. I think he gets at least that much this week.
Would you rather have price not a factor here? Taylor or Montgomery this week?
Taylor.
Okay. And then Saints, real quick on the Saints here. I'm sure Latavius Murray would be popular if Kamara's out, but Breeze, Kamara, Thomas, Cook, good or bad starts this week, Jamey?
Oh, they're all good starts. Yeah, I think you just look at Breeze at home. We know what that has been for him throughout his career, even this season. Getting Thomas back, I think, is going to be huge. I think Thomas has a big game. I don't think the Bears can cover him. I think Kamara has a good game if he's healthy. It's just a matter if you want to spend the money on him. And Jared Cook has been very good in 4 of his last 5 games, so I would also take a chance on him too.
And how have the Bears been against tight ends this season?
Horrible.
Among the worst.
Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Jamey, 30 seconds on the Browns.
Nick Chubb is the only one that I would play with confidence, but I also look at Jarvis Landry, and I think he's going to have a good game as well. But not confidently saying to play him, but I would stay away from Baker. He's played them 5 times in his career. He's been under 200 yards passing every time, and that was with them not having their full complement of defensive guys last week. And while Hooper scored, I'm going to take the track record of the Steelers defense throughout the course of the season and say Hooper has a bad game as well.
Rashard Higgins is a sleeper to you? Is he appealing?
How fast he was driving this week. Hopefully he could speed down the sideline and do something productive. This Browns game just feels like they got such a great opportunity, and then you got the COVID situation where the coach can't be there, and now you have this stuff with the drag racing between Higgins and Wirfs. Like, I just don't understand those 2 guys. Obviously, the COVID situation they can't avoid, but it just feels like they're still cursed, unfortunately. So it feels like this could be a bad game for them. The Steelers seem like they're coming in very relaxed after listening to what Ben Roethlisberger said yesterday. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Browns this week.
Dave, 30 seconds on the Steelers.
We've seen the Browns give up multiple touchdowns to a quarterback in 5 of their past 6 games. The only quarterback that didn't do that was on the Giants. I think Roethlisberger enjoyed his week off. I think he'll be refreshed and ready to go to take advantage of this bad secondary. My lineup has Roethlisberger in it, along with both Deontay Johnson and Juju. I was thinking about going with Claypool, but Juju really wasn't that much more, and I think he'll get more targets. I'm going to avoid the run game because, A, I don't know who's going to get the majority of the work, And B, I'm not so sure that they'll do a great job with it even against Cleveland.
I will say, I'm just going back to the Browns. Kareem Hunt's a very good play because we've seen over the course of the season that when they're chasing points, he's in a much better position.
Okay. All right. So, Dave, I'll let you talk DraftKings. Jamey, you do FanDuel. Dave, DraftKings, like must-haves, best bargains. You know, who do you start your lineup with?
I started my line. When I looked at quarterbacks, I tried to find somebody who wasn't obvious at first, because I look at the list and I see Josh Allen. And I go, oh, I got to have Josh Allen. But then I figure everybody else is going to have Josh Allen. So I got Roethlisberger in there. And it was a tough call between Roethlisberger and Breeze. I could pivot to Breeze because, especially if Kamara doesn't play, because I figure he'll get a lot of work. But I feel all right with Roethlisberger in his matchup against the Browns. So I think Roethlisberger is a sneaky play. I think Deontay Johnson is a must play, whether you go with Roethlisberger or not, and you stack him or not, because of all the targets he'll get. We already talked about David Montgomery. I think he's going to be worth it. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be worth it. And I think Jared Cook's going to be worth it.
Okay. Anything? Yeah. You guys can talk it out. Doesn't have to be just Dave on DraftKings. Jamey, any follow-ups there?
I think the pass-catching running backs are all obviously in play with DraftKings and full PPR. So Naeem Hines, great price. J.D. McKissick, a great price. Kareem Hunt's a great price. I love all three of those guys. They're in a variety of lineups for me. And I think J.K. Dobbins is going to have a huge game against the Titans. They stink. And I think Dobbins is starting to really just come alive. So with a game where they're have a chance to run the ball, I think Dobbins will have a monster game.
Yeah, I guess talking just more generally, FanDuel or DraftKings, some of the players that you just absolutely love this week. So Jamey said Dobbins, Dave.
Both Browns, Antonio and Marquise, I think are very good based on their price, based on what they've been doing. You go back to last year's playoff game. That was the not necessarily coming out party for Marquise Brown, but it was on a national stage. And, 11 targets at over 100 yards receiving. I think he can replicate that because his Titans defense is so bad.
Yeah, Dave, any other players?
I mean, John Brown, I think would be good.
Yep. Okay.
You didn't say John Brown just then, right?
I did not.
Right.
I agree.
So all
three
the
Browns, none of whom play in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I love the price for John Brown, and I love the fact that he, did play in week 17 and he looked pretty good in week 17.
I just really can't do a lineup without Michael Thomas. I mean, Michael Thomas is still one of the best wide receivers in football. It's been a trying year for him. And on FanDuel, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth most expensive wide receiver. And especially if Alvin Kamara doesn't play, I like Michael Thomas. But either way, I'm excited about him. Yeah, and a Godwin. I have Brady and God. I don't know if I love Brady. That's the only thing about my lineup. But I have Brady, those three rookie running backs: Dobbins, Taylor, Akers, Godwin, Thomas, John Brown, Jared Cook, and the Seahawks. Brady to me is just like kind of I don't know if he's going to be contrarian because he's playing so well, but the football team has been very good defensively.
And primetime.
Yeah, that is the most ridiculous thing to me. It's
happened enough times this year.
Nothing to me. This guy has won how many Super Bowls? 5, 6 Super Bowls? You tell me he can't play in prime time?
Well, but I think
his record on the road in the playoffs is not good at all, though.
And I'm thinking that Jamey's just thinking about how it's an interrupted routine. Like Brady, like all football players have their habits, and this is a routine that's breaking.
Eat oatmeal at like 6 p.m. Go, oh, I can't believe I'm reading
he
the
talked about it. He talked about it this year.
It's
Look, I don't think the time of the game really matters quite as much. I think it's the pass rush for Washington that could impact them more. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thread in common with the games against the Saints. Saints were just blitzing the snot out of him. And you
guys like Brady this week? Do you like him, like just in general? Do you think he's going to have a good game?
No.
I think he'll have a good enough game. Like I could see him being, to me, the top quarterbacks are Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. It would not be surprising if he's third.
Yeah. I think there's no way I'm touching Wilson or Goff. Other than that,
Goff for sure.
I can even see Mayfield having a big game the way he's played lately.
No, he does not play well against Pittsburgh.
I know he doesn't play well against Pittsburgh, but maybe this is just different. I mean, maybe he
played them last week in a must-win game that was competitive to the end, and he still was under 200 yards passing without T.J. Watt, without Cam Hayward, and without Joe Hayden on the field.
I know, but he had been playing so well. Yeah. Okay.
When,
I know
when
they're
he's
missing
in a rhythm and he's well protected, he's outstanding. And we could say that about 25 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Okay. All right. You guys want to give a lineup?
Sure.
Go for it.
I mean,
Dave.
I've pretty much given it already. Roethlisberger stacked with Deontay and Juju, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery at running back. John Brown is in my lineup at receiver. Michael Thomas is my flex. Jared Cook is at tight end. And that's why I think I could flip from Roethlisberger to Breeze if there's no Alvin Kamara, because I still have those two guys in my lineup and I still get a big chunk of the Steelers passing game. Seahawks are my defense.
You'd rather Breeze be without Kamara?
If I'm going to lean on the passing game for New Orleans, then yeah.
Okay. Jamey, a
Like in
lineup?
my DFS lineup, I'm saying.
Yeah, the first thing I did with all the lineups I put together was find the best quarterback that I like, because I think, just again, there's 12 quarterbacks playing, and there's only a handful of like top tier guys. Like, that's not a position I'm going to try and set myself apart from. So I'm going to play a lot of Josh Allen, a lot of Lamar Jackson, and spend the money for those guys. So I went with on FanDuel, Josh Allen, J.K. Dobbins, Ronald Jones, Stefon Diggs, Antonio Brown, Marquise Brown, Jared Cook, Kareem Hunt, and the Bills defense.
These are great lineups. You know, it's hard not to like it. There's a lot of teams playing today and a lot of really good this week, and a lot of really good offensive players. Certainly easier than a 4-game slate. Okay. In terms of playoff challenge, like on NFL.com, whatever, who are the sneaky teams that you think could make a run, could be in your lineup for a while?
Well, you have really the potential of, in my opinion, 4 teams that could play 3 games. So you have the 2 1 seeds that can make it to the Super Bowl easily. And when I say easily, it's obviously not easy, but just you see the path for the Chiefs and the Packers. And then the Bills and the Saints can get to the championship rounds based on what their paths can be. So those are the 4 teams I think you look at, because there's great players on those 4 teams as well. And then it's just picking the teams that you think can have the surprise. Like, I think not, and when I say surprise, I mean, get the 3rd game, because you could see 2 games for Baltimore or Tennessee. That's obvious. You could see 2 games for Seattle or the Rams. That game's basically a toss up. But it's, can you get a Titans? Can you get a team that surprises you? Philadelphia from a couple of years ago. So do you buy into Pittsburgh? Do you buy into the Browns? Do you buy into the Titans again making a run? Do you buy, huh?
Do you?
I don't. I'm very chalky outside of the 5-4 matchups this week. I think the 5s upset the 4. The NFC is easy because the NFC East winner is terrible. So I think the Bucks can make a run. It wouldn't be surprising if Tom Brady got back to Super Bowl based on.
I mean, the Bucks are going to be popular, right? I mean, the Bucks feel like a pretty good candidate to play 4 games.
I think if you were, reseeding based on play, they'd be the 3, because I think they're better than Seattle right now. So, and you can make a case maybe they're better than the Saints too. So, for me, it's Baltimore. I can see Baltimore getting to the Super Bowl. They have right now, their defense is certainly good enough. They run the ball. It's so big. It's just a matter of, does Lamar Jackson show up? And he's played in 2 playoff games. You could throw out the one his rookie season because he was, still so raw. But last year he got punched in the mouth and he didn't play well, even though he threw for 300 plus yards and ran for 143. But he had 2 interceptions and he got found out a little bit, so we'll see how he does this time around. I think he's going to win because the Titans defense stinks. And then it's just a matter of what happens in the second round.
Okay. I want to read an Apple Podcast question and we'll get out of here. This is from CMC in the first electrically lit city in the world. The first electrically lit city in the world.
Let's just call it Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, I think so. Very monumental day in Providence. If Marlon Mack comes back next year, will it affect Jonathan Taylor's value?
Yes.
Of course.
Not greatly, but yes.
Still a 1st-round pick if he's back or no?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So not very much at all. All right. Let's see how much time we have here. I think that's going to do it for today.
According to Greg Allman of The Athletic, Mike Evans is working at practice, testing his injured knee, looks comfortable, and the window open to the media.
All right. So that's it for the show today. I wanted to get to some emails, didn't get a chance, but Dave and Jamey can read them next week. And thank you all so much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy some football, some fantasy football. Good luck to you in your contests. And we will talk to you on Monday with a recap. Make sure you actually know we'll have the FFT and 5 episode that drops on Friday. And then after that, we'll talk to you on Monday. All right. Have a good one. See you later. See you in a few weeks. Bye.
Want more of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and nonstop year-round fantasy advice? It's simple. Hit the subscribe button and hang with us all throughout the year.